And at C'est La Vie, we're passionate about about real worship through raw, gritty, undisputed, fully human storytelling. We want to celebrate the no limits grace of Christ that frees us and unleashes all of us to unwrap life as it is and as we are. Today I'm interviewing Emily Dean, and she's the founder of Verity Varee, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and where her life kind of intersects with the mission of C'est La Vie. So we're going to start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, Emily.
I am a mom of one little baby boy. He's 5 months. I'm a singer-songwriter with my husband in our band, Emmy and Ethan, and I do modeling and acting, and I'm the CEO and founder of Verity Varee. That's my main gig. Yeah.
That's a lot of titles.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your experience in the modeling industry. What did you love?
I loved the creativity aspect of it. I love meeting the designers of the clothes. I love, obviously, like the glamour of it all, getting your hair and makeup done. But I love seeing the designer and the photographer's vision all come together. As a model, you kind of, you take on a role, you familiarize yourself with the aesthetic of the clothing and the shoot and what the photographer is going for, and then you just try and kind of morph to their vision. You're a canvas, so you get to just stand there and see and watch while creativity happens. That's the best part. It's really, really fun.
It sounds really fun. I would love to do that, like be a model, even though I'm super awkward behind the camera. What deceptions did being a model sow in your heart and in the hearts of those around you?
Mm-hmm. Well, the biggest deception for me was that I needed to be a certain size. And while I was in high school and then in my early modeling career, I developed an eating disorder. So that was the biggest tool of deception that I ran into. Lots of girls in and out of the modeling industry struggle with eating disorders. Not every model is anorexic or bulimic. I want to let the world know some of them just are really that skinny. A lot of them are. Like, they just have that metabolism or that curvy or whatever. Like, that's just their body shape. But for me, I was struggling with an eating disorder, and that just perpetuated the lie that I had to look a certain way, I had to dress a certain way, even act a certain way. You know, you kind of act like you have it all together most of the time, which we don't, and I think it's a really free and beautiful thing. Just let people see a little bit of beauty and brokenness. So that was one of the biggest lies that I ran into, one of the greatest deceptions in the modeling industry. For me,
that the beauty had a specific definition, and that you maybe didn't meet it if you weren't the measurement that they wanted, or what not at the shoot, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much the typical lie that a woman fights in our culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did truth break those bonds of deception in your life?
Okay, well, it broke it ultimately by helping me beat and move out of an eating disorder. That was the biggest way in my life, but the truth that your inner and your outer beauty are both gifts from God really just started to reshape my whole world. And beauty is defined as pleasing to the mind or senses aesthetically. So when I read that definition and I started just poring over the scriptures about what is true beauty, I realized that my desire for outer beauty was God-given, and it was linked to my purpose, and that it wasn't something to be ashamed of but to embrace. I had simply been embracing the wrong definition of beauty. I'd been embracing the world's. So it freed me ultimately. It broke lies and chains just by getting me out of the eating disorder and really helping me to reshape my lenses for what is beauty in this world.
So I'm hearing you say that God gives everybody beauty because what he is a creator. And so we are his canvas. Just like in your modeling days, we're a canvas for his glory and his beauty and who he wants us to reflect. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as you kind of developed that definition for beauty and that kind of worked in your life, how did that kind of inspire the start of Verity Varee? And what is Verity Varee?
Verity Varee is a storytelling process and platform for women to tell their stories. It's a two-part photo shoot with natural photos and styled photos. The reason we do that is so that a woman can express her personality and her story through her style, but she can also show her canvas, just who she is when she gets up in the morning. It's a really raw, beautiful part of who we are, and I think it's not tapped into very much in our culture. And along with those two photo shoots, they have an interview, and that's typically about 1 hour with a life coach. That's me, and that's my favorite part, is just hearing their story and then getting to put that all together in a blog post with their natural and stylized photos. So that's what it is. It's a storytelling tool with these photo shoots and interviews. I'm also a speaker and blogger and life coach, so that all comes under the branch of Verity Varee. It's a mission. Our tagline is revealing the truth about beauty through your story. That's Verity Varee. Yeah.
So, as these women, you've done mostly women, right?
Yes.
Yeah. As they're seeing what real, like the rawness of their natural canvas and then the beauty of their stylized shoot, and my son is totally crying in the background. Here he comes. Are you okay, baby? You gonna come sit with me again? You gotta be quiet. I kind of lost my train of thought there. What kind of are women's reaction to seeing this happen? To seeing the interview paired with their canvas, paired with their stylized vision?
It's pretty amazing. Better than I could have ever hoped. They're always surprised. I think that telling your whole story in an interview helps a woman to connect the dots and just see the goodness of God in her life, and to see her life as a story. Because when she reads the whole interview and she sees the stylized and natural photos, she'll typically she'll see the ups and downs and see how there's been glory through redemption throughout her life, and see the beauty and brokenness, because it gives her a bird's eye view on her own happenings in her heart and in her mind. Her tastes and dislikes, they're all right there on the page, and she just gets to see, I think, through God's eyes by being able to go through the Verity Varee process. We call it a reveal. We reveal the truth about who she is. They cry sometimes they laugh. It's always really cool.
You were telling me a little while ago about a woman who you had her close her eyes until the makeup had been done, and then you revealed to her like her vision, her artistic expression in the stylized portion. Tell me a little about that experience and how you guys as a Verity Varee staff reacted.
Well, we were holding up a mirror, and this girl, she's 15, her name is Josie. She had her eyes closed and her hands over her face, and we said, okay, open them. And when she saw her reflection, she started laughing and giggling, and tears came to her eyes, and tears came to the staff's eyes. I looked up, and our photographer and behind-the-scenes photographer both had tears welling up, and then I was like almost crying. It was just like, it was really, really cool to be in this atmosphere where everybody's promoting the same message, and then to see how that how this woman, the young woman Josie, responded to that. She was just overjoyed to see herself. None of the coolest things. Typically, as women, we look in the mirror and we're definitely not laughing with.
Dealing with kid crisis here. Have loved over like the past year, I think, watching the reveals occur. I really love kind of women of my own age for obvious reasons, like just seeing us develop. But I really love that a majority of your clients are younger girls, that you're giving them this message like so early, and when they're so vulnerable to all of those influences, like the ones you mentioned in the modeling industry, and all of those definitions of beauty that aren't accurate. They're just kind of hyperboles almost of what we should think beautiful is. So I love that you're doing it both with younger and older women. That's not just one or the other, but I love like that these younger women are essentially being mentored through a storytelling process. That's one of my favorite things about Verity Varee.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because the hardest people to break, so to speak, like the hardest person to get this message across to is an older woman.
Mm-hmm.
And just because she's lived in the lie a lot longer than a younger woman. Yeah, that's a good point.
You really are. You're mentoring in addition to like this beautiful, the stylized shoot and the visual. It's kind of a visual feast. And I'll kind of link in the bottom of this interview, like to one of your reveals or into your blog in general, so that you kind of see like it's a visual feast of what God has created and what He's doing in someone's life. And I just love that portion of your project as a photographer myself. So that speaks to me. So while I'm kind of being a little personal about what I love, we're going to kind of change gears a little and move kind of to your personal life. As I mentioned, like Salem is really passionate about telling raw, gritty stories, and you're kind of living in a raw, gritty story right now. Your husband was let go of his job a little while ago, and you have a 5-month-old. And you're right in the middle of this like circumstance that seems impossible. Tell us a little bit about that circumstance and how you're experiencing Christ's grace in the daily uncertainty of where like His provision is going to come from.
Well, the tangible way that we started experiencing His grace was our new church in Lovettsville, Virginia. As soon as they found out what was going on, not only were they just covering us in prayer, like immediately, like, I got you, we're going to be praying for you, but they started sending diapers and like this big load of food and like toothpaste and all this stuff just like completely out of the blue. That was amazing.
To me, that's what a church body should do. So like that just makes me smile seeing like God use His people and move in their hearts like immediately.
It was amazing. And then when I told my team, the Verity Varee team, I feel like they're never, ever, ever spoken about enough. And on one of these interviews, at some point during our time, like they all need to be here, because they were a huge support. Not only through prayer, but they just started like doing and being the company, like really taking on more responsibilities. Just supporting me and listening to me when I was talking about what was going on, and just being a listening ear. They really rose up and started just helping in every single aspect of the company, because it's a lot of hard work. You know, you see the beautiful end product, but there's a lot of grit behind it. And then
solo entrepreneurship is just so difficult. Like as a solo entrepreneur, one to another, like people are like, oh wow, and wow, that's really expensive or whatever. You know, that they're thinking about your business, but they're not seeing that, you know, all those hours of work you're putting before you even have the client.
Right.
And it's just a lonely little world. So to see that you have this company of people around you like rising up, and taking some of that work off, like that's a big deal as a solo entrepreneur. It's a big deal.
It is, and you know what? The company is made up of my dear friends. It's not just they're not just like-minded women. They're like-minded women who see my everyday life. Like, they come over and, you know, wait outside the door in the cold because I'm upstairs changing the diaper of my 5-month-old. You know, they're really in my life. So that was huge grace, just seeing that. And then I think the biggest way that God's really shown us grace in this time was calling out Ethan, my husband's desires. He's a recording artist with our band, Emmy and Ethan, and he runs his own audio production company called Uber S'more Productions. And he had always dreamed of just doing music full time, and getting let go of his job actually gave him the opportunity. He'd actually been at this job praying about when to leave, because Ethan, if you ever get the opportunity to meet him, he's just not made for a cubicle. He's fun-loving and outgoing and creative. He lives for music. He like lives and breathes music. So that was the biggest way that God showed us grace, was just all of a sudden like getting this prayer answered. Like, okay, it's time for him to be home. So
incredible gift, and it's incredible that you can already see it as a gift. And I mean, it didn't happen that long ago, did it? Was it like 3 months ago?
Yeah, just about that much time. And so that, like, I still have that feeling sometimes, like, oh my gosh, when is the month going to come when we can't make rent? It's scary, but I think that when we go to our place of fear, we get to experience God. We get to experience His grace, and you know, there wouldn't be grace if we didn't mess up, and if this life didn't have ups and downs. So it's really an exciting time. It's cool too that it's happening right around spring. You know, when things are blooming and new life is happening. We've really entered into a chapter of new life. As entrepreneurs, as children of God, as creatives, it's kind of rocking our world in a beautiful, good, exciting, scary way.
I remember I was really affected by when Inval's Camp writes about how fear is cast out by love, and it's in 1 John. I don't remember the verse exactly, but like how God's perfect love can cast out fear, and that's what I'm hearing from you, like that you're learning to trust in Him and to walk with Him and to let Him cast out that fear that He's not going to provide in a really hard circumstance, and you're doing it with a smile. Like, that's just really fun to watch.
Well, honestly, I've learned a lot of that from my husband, but thank you. I can't take the credit.
Husbands are very instrumental. So, kind of as a closing, if you could tell women and men one thing about worshiping Christ, kind of in the fullness of who they are during any stark circumstances, what would it be and why? And if I need to rephrase that, go ahead and let me know.
Well, you tell me if this answers or not. I would say that the way that they can worship Him in fullness is going to the heart of God and meeting God in their desire. I think that our desires are so instrumental, not just in living a joyful life, but in bringing us back to the heart of God. When we are acting out of our purpose and our desire, we meet God, because we are responding to Him and saying, yes, the way that you created me is good, and I'm functioning in that goodness. I'm living and praising you and loving what I'm doing and receiving the good gift that you've given me, which is me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense, and I love the way that you just put that. I like can't wait to like transcribe that last little bit so I can hear it and soak in it myself. Wow. Thank you, Emily, for being our first interview victim. It almost feels like as we kind of go on this journey that we're calling C'est La Vie. And do you have any final words, thoughts?
Man, I don't. Because you know why? Because I could just talk about this forever. I could just dive into the truth about beauty for hours and hours and hours. Because I needed it. I guess that is something I'd like to say. This company wasn't created because I figured everything out and now I feel like I've got to go tell people. It was created because I needed to know for myself, like, um, why the thief of comparison was so present in my life, why I looked in the mirrors in the morning and would rate myself on a scale of 1 to 10, and depending on that rating my day would either be great or not so great, like why after having a baby and having like the extra pudge I felt less valued. That's, I mean, it's so typical, it's such a common battle, but it's so prevalent in our culture. It's right in front of us all the time, as women, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. And I'm excited and honored to be a part of a team that's addressing it in this unique way. So I can't take the credit for any of this, and I don't want to. I'd like to spread that out to the team, but ultimately to Christ. It's His truth, not mine. I just get to tell people about it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.